this is part 2 of our comprehensive guide on how to drift on Gran Turismo 7. Now, this episode is going to specifically cater towards the newbies in the easiest way that I can, and that is we're going to build a car specifically designed for new drifters. If you're on a wheel, if you're on a controller, this will work for both. But generally, this is more wheel focused, especially. But this is going to be a drift build on the S14K's Aero, and we're going to be using the standard SR. We're going to be keeping it relatively low horsepower, relatively not a lot of tuning involved, but it's going to be pretty simple. But this car doesn't need a lot to drift well. So we're going to cover that now, and I'm going to go through piece by piece, and we're going to record. Well, you're going to see the whole build process, or not the whole build process. I've already built it, but I'm going to show you which parts that you need, which parts that you don't, and you'll be able to get a full range of how this car's built. And then we're going to take it to a track, and we're going to explain the basics of how it works and why it works the way it does. Okay, so first and foremost, you've got an S14K's Aero. This is the Apex Drift Association training vehicle for this episode. And we're going to go to GT Auto first. Now, on this specific vehicle, there is no wide body, there is no engine swap. As you can see, I can still wide body and I can still engine swap. There is none of that. It's the standard engine. In regards to body parts, I have... Which wheels do we currently have on this? We've got Ray's T37Vs on... I think they were on 16 and they were wide. So, just it's a preference thing, right? Or there might be 15s actually. Yeah, it's probably 15s. Then Type A, Type A, Type A, and there's no rear wing, so I took the rear wing off. The only other thing that matters here is there's no roll cage. Roll cage stiffens up the chassis, so we didn't put any of that in because it's not necessary. And then front grille, number plate, light bulb, all of those make no difference to the way the car drives, so you can do whatever you like with those. The same as bonnet pins and tow hooks. In regards of tuning, or in regards of parts, we have comfort hards, no weight reduction at all on this car. Sports computer, sports air filter, sports silencer. I tested a load of diffs and I ended up just leaving it on the stock diff, so just don't buy the diff. You don't need to buy the diff. Close ratio transmission low. Power restrictor. Low turbo. Semi-racing clutch. This is one of the most important things if you are using a clutch. If you are using a controller, for example, or if you don't own a clutch, we'll buy the racing transmission. You buy the racing transmission and then just set the gears to the same as what I've got set here. Height adjustable sports suspension instead of the fully customizable suspension. This is very like stripped out sort of build in general. Then you've got the brake balance controller, which is how you adjust your brake balance, and then you've got the hydraulic handbrake and the steering angle adapter. And there's nothing else. It's super simple. There isn't a lot to this car one bit. And we're going to go to Streets of Willow. Now, if you remember from our last settings video, we're going to go down to event settings straight away. We're going to put 1 and real. This gives you the best feeling possible. You're going to make sure that you've got no ABS off. All of your assists are off that you don't need on. And then you're going to go to your car settings. And you're going to... This is the tune that you're going to be driving with, and it is 114 in the front, 106 in the back, 1 anti-roll. These can't be changed, that's why you get that weird noise. Then you're gonna have 27 in the front and 23 in the rear, 43 in the front and 46 in the rear, 2.4 and 2, 3 and 0, and then these can't be adjusted. And I'm on stock differential, which is not the most ideal in the world, truth be told. Like, the most ideal in the world would probably be a one-way LSD or the two-way. I mean, if you want to go fully customizable, you could, but we haven't gone into tuning video yet. Minimum downforce, just because it's it's not a lot of power anyway. You don't want to be adding downforce to the mix as well. As you can tell, there's no racing parts on the car. And we have standard power, nothing's changed here. This is the gear set that you should be copying if you're using the racing transmission. So just pause the video and then put your first gear to 66, second gear to 97, third gear to 134, fourth gear to 174, and fifth gear to 220. Realistically, we're only going to be using second and third gear, maybe fourth on occasion, but not really. This is purely just to teach the basics. Handbrake, hydraulic handbrake, 70. And brake balance, I would recommend positive 2 if you are new to no ABS. I prefer positive 2 at the moment anyway. And then semi-racing, make sure the steering angle adapter's on, nice and simple. Now, we're going to get on track. And I'm going to quickly turn my audio down just a touch. There we go. Now, we're going to head to just on this skid pad here. And I can't drift third person generally. I could try, but I'm not very good at it. So you've got this circle here, right? And it's a pretty good thing to have because realistically, it's a perfect donut, right? It's a perfect circle. Let's move these cones out of the way that are in the way. We don't need these ones that are in the way. We'll just notch those one out of the way. And you've got this big open area as well, where you can really learn how to slide the car. As you can see, the car slides without an issue. Now, the best way, and this is more wheel focused, the best way is to, in my experience, and I'll try and use a bit of the first person here just to show you particularly, you want to just, once it slides, just full throttle over. Once it slides, let it catch. Let it catch. So, I'll show you what that looks like from the third person. Just let it catch. Slide, let it catch, let it return to center. And this is a really good exercise to just get used to it. And sometimes you might do this, you know, sometimes, oh no, I've spun, right? That's okay, spinning's fine. But you want to just let it slide out a little bit. Once it's started to slide out a little bit, let off the throttle, let it recenter. And then eventually you just add more and more time to the equation, so... Oh, see, that's what'll happen sometimes. I don't like third person, so... If I was you, actually, I'd go third here. And then if you go to hood view, this is hood view, so this is my preferred method. You can keep it on the whole time without a problem in this car. And you just want to hold that white line and practice sticking to the white line as much as possible. Now, I normally drive in VR, so I'm just kind of going on instinct here pretty much. But you want to be consistent on the throttle. You want to keep the high RPM high, but not too high that you just spin. And the car will naturally just hold this circle if you let it. If you're on enough throttle, it just kind of hold this inside, or you want to hold the front against the white line. Now, the other thing is, realistically, you want to try this both directions, right? Every time, if you learn something one way, you want to learn it the opposite way too. So again, go the other way, and once it starts to slide, let it slide, let it recenter. Try and get a feel for how much rotation, and depending on the view you use, obviously, you'll have a little bit of variance in how it looks, right? I wouldn't recommend learning on third person on a wheel, personally, because I feel like you don't have as much visual control. Hood cam is probably, in my opinion, the best. If you're on flat screen, if you have a VR, use the VR, because the VR is one of the best ways of doing it. Alternatively, also, another thing that you can do is go in a small location and just using first gear, spin the car over and just try and do some small donuts. Just controlled donuts. You can use a little bit of foot brake to make it a little easier too. But generally, this is the absolute basics, right? And these are the fundamentals that if you can do these consistently, especially if you're new to wheel, these are going to be what carry you for months and months and all the way down the line. These tiny, like, it's the initial flick. If you can get this initial flick, you can use the clutch to do it. You can see that I've done it a few times with just throttle and just clutch. So this time is just with throttle. So with just throttle, it will go over, no problem. And then this is with a clutch kick. Clutch kick is a bit more aggressive. So it will snap over quicker if you're clutch kicking it than if you're just mashing the throttle. You're just mashing and throttle. And then clutch kick snaps on a lot quicker, the power comes on a lot more directly. And you should just practice it both directions. And then again, if you're getting the hang of it, try third gear, try and do it in third gear. So get it spun up, let it recenter, get it spun up, let it recenter. And these tiny little things that you do help a lot. And then when it comes to sustaining the drift, you want to be smooth with your hands. Let the wheel do the work, because the wheel will mostly do the work for you. Especially if you're running settings for this car particular. This car in particular is very sort of simple in the way it works. It's not a high horsepower car. It's not complicated. It's not overly tuned. It's not hard to drive in any which way, shape or form. It's actually probably one of the most brain dead easy cars to drive in the game I think I've ever driven, especially for drifting. But the big thing, and this is the key point, is fundamentals in the long run are how you get significantly better. If you have solid groundwork to work on, you will go a lot further than someone who doesn't. If someone who doesn't have solid fundamentals, this will also teach you car placement. This will teach you so much stuff. You can use the rear of the car on the white line to learn the rear of your car's distance from the edges of tracks, for example. You can use the front to know when you're going to go off the track on the front end. And you learn how to place your car, and you can then combine it with a few cones, right? So if you say you've got these cones here, right? Now I wouldn't recommend slaloming through all of them because I think that's a bit pointless. But slaloming through some every now and then. You know, pick a couple of cones, try and slalom through them without hitting them. That's what I would recommend. And then once obviously you've hit them all, and they've all knocked out of the way, just reset. Because that's the beauty of video games, you can just restart, right? And this car drifts fine. Like, it drifts without an issue. And you can use fourth in this car. So you can use it on regular tracks, so your Suzuki's, your Scuba, this car will work fine for. While you're learning, you want to try and drive as many different tracks as possible. My pedal is glitching. That's so much fun. But generally, focus on the fundamentals first. Spend time in the boring part, and the part that this is the part that always gets people the most frustrated, is sitting in a simple space and struggling. Truth be told, you don't want to struggle. You want to struggle, right? Because struggling teaches you things. But, and this is just, I've taught probably I've taught a few people at this time, and the one thing I know is frustration. If you are super frustrated, take a break. Because you're not going to make progress when you're frustrated. If you're not having fun, take a break. Go do some racing. You know, because racing, believe it or not, helps a lot, because car control in general, whether it be racing, drifting, etc., will always translate to something else in some context. The more familiar you are with your equipment, the better you're going to be, which is another thing as well. So that's going to be it from us for this part 2. The car drifts fantastically, and there'll be a short clip right at the end showing that it will drift one of the mainline sections no problem. And yeah, I mean, have fun drifting. That's probably one of the biggest things. Make sure you're having fun. Practice on your own sometimes in the simple stuff goes a long way. And I can tell you now, I could make people drive this car, some people that have been driving for 1,000 hours, and they could still struggle doing this. It's so simple. It's the simple stuff. So don't feel disheartened if you're struggling, and if you are struggling with over rotation, you have too much throttle, or alternatively not enough steering. If you are understeering, you generally don't have enough throttle, or you're steering too much. If you're steering too much significantly, you will go the other way. You will snap the other way. So I'll show you what that looks like. Real quick, one last example. So not steering enough and too much throttle, you spin, right? If you're understeering, right, if you're coming straight, you don't have enough throttle. That's why it recenters. And then if you've got too much throttle and you're oversteering the car, oh, you've gone the other way. So it's a balancing act of all of those things, and that's why drifting is actually quite hard. And it's because you are balancing everything all at the same time. I really don't like third person. But I will be honest with you, I can do this without hands mostly. And I'm going to, just bear with me a second. I don't know if I can do this on third person without hands once the car's settled, but we'll see. Yeah, so now I'm without hands. And it's gone. I hit the cone. Don't hit the cones. Move the cones out of the way. They mess you up. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be it from me. I've been your host, 26B, and we'll catch you for the next one. See you later.